I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. King, we're going to have a Dr. King is going to introduce.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Hear me? You can hear me? Okay. School board members and Dr. Atkins, it is with a humble heart that I share on Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, that the world lost some of its light. One of our students at Johnson Elementary School, 5-year-old Bennett Charles McClurky Gibney, he passed away. And this is a statement that was made in his honor with the school and the family. It says that Bennett was a treasured 5-year-old child in kindergarten at Johnson. We had the pleasure of knowing and loving Bennett during 2 years of pre-K at Johnson. We will always remember him for his spirit, his unquenchable curiosity, and his quirky sense of humor. He was constantly drawing people together and breaking down barriers. He helped so many people realize how many barriers there are in the world to a person with limited mobility. One of his friends changed the location of her birthday party when she realized that Bennett would not be able to access the original location. The garden coordinator at Johnson altered the garden to allow access to Bennett's wheelchair. Ramps were added where there were none, and equipment had to be maintained in order for him to have access to the various levels of the school. The Johnson Library moved all the furniture in the library so that he may move freely. None of these people will ever look at spaces the same way again. And this is because of Bennett and his light and the way he drew people in. He was beloved by all who knew him, and we are heartbroken by his loss. So if I could just ask Mr. Chair for a moment of silence, please.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have roll? Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the proposed agenda?
I so move.
Second, any changes or addition to the agenda? If not, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
If all opposed, please say no. Thank you. It's an opportunity now for members of the public to come up and address the school board. No one has signed up, but you certainly have an opportunity now if you'd like to come up. There'll be another opportunity at the end. But, if not, I will go on to the next agenda item. It's recognition of the students and student recognitions. Dr. King.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair and school board members and Dr. Atkins. Tonight, it is my favorite part. It is recognitions. And first, we have the Rumney Forum Annual Peace and Dialogue Art and Video Contest Award winners. This event is brought to middle and it's an opportunity to bring middle and high school students together to raise awareness on the important social topics through art. And on February 22nd was when the event took place. This year's theme was Justice or Just Us, to raise awareness amongst the students about topics such as equality and fairness, as well as environmental and social justice, along with human rights. They developed artworks and videos, and there were professional judges. There was also a dinner where recognition for the community and guests. So we do have students. I would like to recognize from Buford Middle School, Yasu Shanowski. I did practice, but I'm not doing a very good job right now. Do you know the name? Let me try one more time.
Or let her say it.
Yes, Yazoo, are you here? Okay, that is all right. She placed, the student placed second in this year's Rumney Forum Peace and Dialogue Contest with the work titled Tattered America.
Put it up on the
Yeah,
screen.
can we see it?
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah, everyone should see that. There it is.
Tattered America. Isn't that beautiful?
That's incredible.
Next up, we have Charlottesville High School student Alina Hadari, who placed second in this year's Peace and Dialogue video contest with her work titled Hijab. Is she here? Alina, come on up.
No, it's too long.
Can we see?
No, it's too long. Videos.
It's too long.
Congratulations again. And also, I would like to have Tiara Strait and Amaya Limbacher, who placed third in this year's Rumney Forum Peace and Dialogue video contest with Health Assurance. Congratulations. Oh, incredible. You created in the Avid classroom, the new one. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm still thinking of the other student's name. I believe it's Yazoo Shanozaki. I want the name pronounced as closely as possible. Also, I will wait for you, Mr. Chair, before I move to the next recognition.
Yes, please, proceed.
I can go on?
Yes.
Okay. We also want to recognize...
Dr. King, before you move on, we wanted to recognize the parents of the...
Oh,
Can you
absolutely.
please stand?
Her parents or relatives?
Parents or relatives?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have the 2018 Virginia School Boards Association Regional Forum Art Contest. And we had students, their work was displayed. This contest was on March 7th, so this month. And there are 3 categories for elementary, middle, and high school from 9 regions. And each region selected 3 winners. And we have our winners posted with Charlottesville High School, 9th grader Jane Ormsby, who won 3rd place in the high school category. We have 8th grader Belanish Downs Reeve. What is it?
Belinish.
Belinish Downs Reeve, thank you. And Elsa Miller from 5th grader at Walker Upper Elementary School. Do we have those students in the audience? Come on up. Yay!
Getting their exercise.
I know, exactly. Belinish is also Hannah's friend.
Oh, really?
She's really good.
All right. And those are all our recognitions. Oh. Oh. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's just, I like that we go with the STEAM because art is so integral in what we do, and those pictures were amazing. Several of us went to Nelson County High School, and they were amazing, displayed, and so great job. Thank you, everyone. The next item we have on the agenda is the board members' comments.
You want me to
Amy?
start?
Yep.
Yeah, sure. Well, congratulations to all of our wonderful artists. So this month, I guess we've had a lot of meetings, but these are 3 separate ones that I'll talk about. So Dr. Atkins and I were at the PREP meeting, which is the Piedmont Regional Education Program, and we're currently looking for a director, and that will be posted on our HR website, I think by tomorrow. And then we'll be making a determination by May 23rd, I believe. And I just wanted to say that they also gave an update on assistive technology, and I wanted to ask if our general ed teachers actually have an opportunity to sign up for the assistive technology workshops. I meant to ask that during the thing.
I
But
don't know. I'd have to go to prep and ask them to make sure that they have
okay, I
access
think
also.
I'll make sure we do that. And then we allocated up to $12,000 for security and ADA improvements, and had a long discussion about improving the playground for Ivy Creek as well, which we tabled for now. And then I went to the Virginia Board of Education meeting, and they were discussing the regulation changes for the after-school program. So I think we'll be really excited to hear that those are being adopted, and that next year we can proceed as usual.
Wonderful.
And then today I went to the GRACE Task Force, which is the gang reduction. I always forget what ACE stands for. Could be something. A community engagement, awareness, gang reduction awareness community engagement, yes. And that's, a conglomerate of, we have juvenile justice there, we have police, we have our Mal County supervisors, city council, also the school boards of the county, and there's lots of events going on. So I really want to just showcase about 3 of them, if you don't mind. We have a forum on human trafficking in Charlottesville, and that will be on Thursday, April 12th, from 6 to 7 at the Music Resource Center, and that's going to be coming out through city website and Charlottesville Police Department. And then also we have the Cops and Kids program that happens every year at the Boys and Girls Club on May 4th from 4 to 6 p.m. And then our Charlene Green is with, Commission on Human Rights, and she will be doing a training on implicit bias on June 11th at 6 p.m. at the Martin Luther King Performance Center.
A training for who?
A training. It's a community-wide training. June 11th, 6 p.m. And there's just something for us to be aware of. The Social Services Department did say there's an increase of referrals for gang-related and drug-related children's issues. So something for us to just think about as a school division and as a community as we're going in towards the summer. So there it is. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I would first like to express my admiration for Charlottesville High School in how the entire school community handled the student walkout that occurred a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was now. And, I felt like every student was given an opportunity to express their preferences, and teachers were there supporting the students as well, those who wanted to walk out and those who wanted to stay in school. And the student leaders who organized this, I thought you guys did a great job. And it was a very meaningful experience, a memorial really is what it was, but drawing attention to these horrible issues that we have to deal with now. So I really appreciate that, and also the leadership of Dr. Adkins and the staff in just figuring out what to do. So what to do to kind of bring us together as a community, and I thought it worked really well. I did attend 2 committee meetings that are part of my committee assignments. SHAB, or the School Health Advisory Board, met, and SHAB is in the process of really working on implementation of our new wellness policy. There is a brochure, and I don't know if we all have seen that, or If not, we should, and I can bring some to our next school board meeting. But there's a lot going on, both in nutrition, in in phys ed, in adding more physical activity for the students, and also, unfortunately, in dealing with issues related to, possible events that could happen in a school and the health implications of those events and what kinds of training, additional trainings might be needed. So there were discussions like that happened, and the committee chair, Patrick Johnson, will be leaving us, and so there will be some new leadership on that committee. I know, I'm so sad too. Also, the preschool steering committee met, and Lisa came to that meeting. It's a really great group, and they're so nice to us. They feed us. But Lisa, maybe you're going to talk about that? Okay. It's a wonderful team, the preschool leadership team. It really is. I feel really good about where that is, and Lisa will fill you in. And finally, I just want to say that I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to visit Cuba, and this was a people-to-people exchange program, and one of the things that was most meaningful to me was to see, this is a poor country, and to see the value that they place on public education. The resources that they have go into public education, and we got to, and especially arts education. I was really kind of blown away by this. We got to hear student performances. We got to go to their dance high school. They have a whole high school for dance, and they're very proud of their educational system. And it was, I was really pleased to be exposed to that. And I think that's it for now.
I did want to add that you mentioned the SHAB report. I did see it. I think I saw it at the entrance to Walker when I was there visiting. They had it, very prominent right outside the office. So
yeah.
It's definitely making it easy for the parents to avail themselves to it. So thank you for your work on that.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just give you guys a little heads up about what I've been doing, just in the relevant takeaways from the meetings that I've been going to. First, I went to Parks and Rec this week. Tonsor is going to have a splash pad. They usually open, all the spray grounds open the second weekend in May, and so they're hoping that this one will be done and completed by that time as well. And I think spray grounds are a really great magnet for the community, and I'm very excited about that. We received a report on integrated pest management, which is the schools are all organic, like they use only organic pest control chemicals on the school grounds. The one area where they've noted some concern, which I'm sure they'll bring to your attention at some point, is the hardscapes, which if you look at the parking lots and where the hardscapes are not as nice any longer because there's cracks in them. That's where the weeds are, and that's the hardest part to kind of get out. So that and to maintain that through the organic pest chemicals. So it's just something that they're working on, and they strongly advise that we, upgrade our hardscapes. And I told them several times that would, it's hard to spend money on parking lots when we have a lot of other places we like to spend, that could benefit students. So the other, I went to Quest. The Quest meeting, I think next month we'll probably have a local plan update for you guys to approve. We did talk about talent development and how crucial the role of talent development teachers are in K through first grade, in identifying children who could benefit from Quest. So that, just to put that little bug in your bonnet, I don't know. I should not talk like that, but yes, you guys will definitely be hearing about that, I suspect. I went to the K-Tech meeting, which was my first, sadly, and it was awesome. I really appreciated the presentation by the Hair and Skin Academy, cosmetology. They were really really good. And all the students came and some alums came, and I'm just really proud of the work that team does on behalf of students, especially since we see all the graduates, many graduates in our community, in the salons. So that was really special to me. I also went to the winter banquet. I think that was actually before our last meeting, winter sports banquet. So that was really, those are always great opportunities for community engagement. I love to see all the families there with their students, and everybody works really hard, and the coaches, of course. So, and today I went to a student-led conference by my student at Venable, and that is a great idea for family engagement, by the way. So thank you to whomever brought that to our school division. My child could not have been more proud, and I don't think you could have told him that I was not going. So he was well versed in what to say and how to say it, and he showed me all the work that he's been doing, and I just know that parents really appreciate seeing their child in that light, and also seeing them in that classroom setting. So really good work on behalf of the division there. Let's see. Also had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with some Charlottesville High School students at the March for Our Lives in D.C., which I was so pleased to see our children and students engaged and just enthusiastic in supporting school safety. So thank you to all those students who came, and of course all the adults who supported those efforts. So that's all I got for the moment.
Lisa?
Okay. Well, I had a very busy and exciting month, so I've got a lot to share, but I'll try and get through it quickly. I was able to attend a few more schools. I was able to attend, first off, Clark's morning meeting, which was really neat. So if anybody has an opportunity and hasn't been there, it's really wonderful. Got to hear some great persuasive writings, and I think were they fourth grade? And yeah, it was incredible, and they were trying to persuade, I think, the rest of the student body, like which school T-shirt should be picked. So that was wonderful. They also showcased their monthly book, which I think had to do with inventors. I also attended Jackson Via and Johnson Elementary Schools. I observed the teach classrooms for the 3- and 4-year-old. I also had the opportunity to visit Buford and CHS, and here at CHS I spent some time in the walk classroom, which is also really, really impressive, the work that they're doing and the supports that they offer students, so that was wonderful. As Sherry mentioned, I was able to attend my first preschool steering committee meeting. They talked and shared with us about preschool registration, the current numbers that they're dealing with, and the application process. They're currently working on this year's preschool symposium, which I believe has been scheduled for June 12th at the Jefferson School. So I hope to hear more on that. And then also just a reminder to the community that the 3-year-old parent interview day, so those parents who have 3-year-olds, that's scheduled for April 25th at Carver Rec, and that's all day, and I believe you'll be contacted and given a time, or they'll work with you as far as the time for that. I'd also like to put in just a little plug for the Family Engagement on Demand. I don't know if everybody got the opportunity to see that, but Ms. Coleman, I believe she just tweeted out yesterday about their mobile-friendly platform that provides interactive videos, newsletters, a variety of topics, some of those including how to help your child with homework, different car time activities for a young child, effective study skills. So check that out. And I think on each school's homepage there's a link, so you can click on that, and then it'll guide you, and or you can reach out to her to get some more information on that. But I thought that was pretty neat. I also was able to register and listen to a webinar which was sponsored by NSBA. And that webinar was on teaching accurate and comprehensive Black history in American K through 12 schools. It was absolutely wonderful, and I'm hoping we can share that with the rest of the board members. It was sponsored by the National Black Council for School Board Members, and it was a Dr. Hassan Kwame Jeffries presented, and he's from the Ohio State University, and he spoke about the 5 essential periods that should be included in African American history, as well as essential content, and then addressed action steps that we can take today and in the future. So it was wonderful. I also attended and supported the incredible youth in Washington, D.C. this last weekend. I remain humbled by what we were witness to, and just the strength and courage of our youth. And that was just a wonderful opportunity, so I'm grateful to have been able to be part of that. I also attended and was able to catch part of the CHS PTO meeting last night, where Charlene Green met with parents and talked a little bit how she's facilitating discussions after viewing I'm Not a Racist, Am I? Also mentioned those implicit bias training sessions that will be available, and I think there will be 4 different trainings that are available, some to the city employees, I believe, one that Amy mentioned, I guess, that's open to community members. One, I believe, has been scheduled or is being scheduled for city school employees, for our division employees. So I guess that's 2. I don't know, but there was 4, I believe, that are being offered. And then, let's see. I think today, the last thing I was able to do was I volunteered and attended the first annual Game Changers Luncheon for the City of Promise, which was at the Carver Rec. And so I was there for a couple of hours and got to help them set up and listen to the speakers, and that was absolutely wonderful. So that's it for now.
Busy,
Thank you.
busy.
Yes.
Frey?
I'm happy to save my comments until the end. They're pretty much the same as what everyone else has mentioned.
Great. Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda would be the adoption of the consent agenda. The consent agenda.
Oh, we figured it out. Okay. I move the adoption of the consent agenda.
It's been moved, properly second. No changes or addition. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is items for discussion, and Mr. Henderson, if you could come and talk about the K-Tech local plan.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Atkins. The Carl Perkins Career and Tech Education Act was signed into law in August of 2006. It regulates career and technical education from the federal level and provides funding to states and local school divisions. Under the provisions of Perkins and regulation governing career and technical education in Virginia, local educational agencies desiring federal assistance from Perkins for 2018 through 2019 are required to submit a one-year plan and year budget to the Virginia Department of Education. The plan and budget will be updated annually to reflect current year activities and funding priorities. The attached grant application will serve as the formal agreement between the school division and VDOE for implementing federal and state regulations governing the provision of career and technical education. It spells out the intended use of funds to support program improvements, and disbursement of funds is contingent upon local and state approval of the action plan. Stephanie Carter, coordinator of CTE, is here to go over the CTE plan and to provide changes that we have made that we will move forward in 2018-2019.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Good
school
evening.
members, and Dr. Atkins. I'm happy to be here tonight to kind of answer any questions and go over our local plan and Perkins budget. This is the 4th year that I've done it, and there are very few changes every year. The grant application is based on needs that really were reflected in the changes that we've shared with you all from the program of study. So This year, one of our focuses will be the addition of the leadership class that will be added. It's the first class leading into the Teachers for Tomorrow program that we're starting. But a lot of our funding this year, a lot of our funding every year goes toward equipment and refreshing and keeping our technology in career and technical education up to date. So this year is the year for the Buford Atrium. What it was called the Buford Atrium 4 years ago. Now it's the Alpha Lab. So the Alpha Lab is due for new computers and updated equipment. So the bulk of our funding will be used there this year. And then, of course, we will do things like update monitors in classrooms for teachers and things like that. But the majority of our funding will go to the Alpha Lab. Okay. I don't know what questions you have. It's very similar to the past, and that's really what the application is focusing on, updating technology in the Alpha Lab and supporting our new Teachers for Tomorrow program.
Okay, thank you. The questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item we have on the agenda is Special Education Annual Plan Part B flow-through. Dr. King?
Yes, sir. Tonight, I'm presenting the proposal for the federal flow-through for special education grant as a discussion item. And there are two parts within the grant. The first part is 611, and that's for school-age students. And it's estimated that we're going to get $1,068,393. And we plan to use the funds for 6 full-time special education teachers, 1 part-time special education teacher, 1 part-time speech pathologist, 5 instructional assistants, and 2 special education coordinators. The second part, we will also use funds for instructional supplies, professional learning activities, and times we need interpreting services for parents at IEP meetings when they are attending those. The second part deals with 619, and that's for our pre-K students, and the amount is $48,638. That's estimated for us to receive, and we plan to use those funds for 1 part-time early childhood special education teacher, as well as benefits for them as part of their salary package. Also instructional supplies and evaluation services for preschool students. I know this is as a discussion item, and it looks very similar to as it does every year, but at this time I do want to just say if there are any questions about this plan.
Are we adding positions, or are we just funding our existing number of positions?
Funding the existing number of positions. This is what it was last year. And this plan will go to SEAC next month, and then it will come back for the board's approval at the beginning of May before submission to VDOE.
Quick question. I was just curious, the column E, so the proportionate set aside, I mean, that's just kind of a cushion amount that happens?
Mm-hmm. You were asking what that's for, or? Yes, so we also have students, in our community that may attend our homeschooled or private school, so we have to make sure if there are services that we offer that they are in need of, that they can let us know, and we keep those funds set aside so that we make sure that we have it when the need occurs. And each year, information is sent out to homeschool parents as well as private schools, giving them an opportunity to give input on our plan, and that's that we use. Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you very much, Dr. King, for your efforts on this. The next item we have on the agenda is Division Organizational Support. Mr. Faust. Yeah, he's.
But I didn't feel like I should miss this.
I'll control it if that's okay. Cool. Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening.
School board members, Dr. Atkins, public, staff. Good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to come talk to you a little bit about and give you an update on our division organizational supports as taken from our strategic plan and our attempt to maintain systems and processes to enable students, staff, and schools to thrive. We have been a one-to-one division now since 2011, and that's when we launched our original one-to-one initiative. We've done a lot of great things. Our students have done a lot of great things. Our staff have done a lot of great things. And looking back, we, in the past few years, we've done some great upgrades to infrastructure. We're now at a level of megabits per student, which is a half megabit per student, which to everyone in the room, it may not mean a whole lot, but it actually meets the national recommendations for what we need, given the modern technology usages, the amount of video that gets streamed, and so on and so forth. So that's a measure that's being recommended. It's part of what E-rate and some of those funds go towards to maintain infrastructure that does that. Last spring, we were recognized among the top 10 divisions for technology by the Center for Digital Education. We this year hosted a Canvas Day. We hosted our 6th annual Google Summit this year, and we also are well underway in our GPS redesign to take these tools and instructional materials and make them available to teachers and students directly, and that's a really exciting project that is active right now. I've given you a few facts and figures. And I do want to caution, if you pulled down the presentation earlier, I reorganized things just to streamline things, and I hope that's okay with you. I haven't deleted anything, or it's the same slides you have, but it is a different order up here. I'm going to try to make it through and then allow the charts and the graphs and those kind of things to inform any questions that I should get. So a few things, facts and figures about our school district. Like I said, we are meeting the education superhighways benchmarks. So you can see that we're green across the board, and they use a green, yellow, red system. So great stuff. Wi-Fi in every classroom. We have fiber optic cabling as our backbone to every school. Our monthly costs are lower than average, and like I said, we have 536 kilobytes, or just over a half megabit of information band or internet bandwidth for every student in our division. Some other statistics that I was pulling as I was preparing to look at, well, what do we do with one-to-one? 1,500 new Google Docs are created every day in our division. We have 4,000 active student devices on our network. 2,500 students are actively using Canvas every day. There are 200,000 page views daily in Canvas, and there are 25,000 assignments in Canvas just this academic year. So we know that they're being used. Those are kind of daunting numbers when you look at them that way. And at the end of the day, that is what it's about, right? Every learner, every day, everyone. We're trying to increase collaboration and communication, creativity, and critical thinking, and we're doing that by using the technology as a way to reach our students in class, outside of class, and extend well beyond the four walls of that classroom. One of the things that I think that we're doing a good job but need to be even doing a better job with is converting students from passive users of technology to active users of technology. When we talk about passive use, that's consumer, right? I'm just receiving information, I'm receiving data, I'm receiving materials. When we talk about active use, it's about creating, whether that's coding, making video, making audio, designing, or collaborating and communicating through the technology. I think that's one of those things that we're really on the edge of doing some pretty amazing things, and some of our students and some of our teachers really are, but I'm looking forward to what the next few years hold for where we go with that. We have some great tools that we've adopted here at Charlottesville City Schools to help with that. Google Drive, Pear Deck, Flipgrid, Canvas, WeVideo, just to name a few. I threw some tiles up there, which to you all might not mean anything, but these are all ways that teachers are reaching students. Students are communicating and collaborating with teachers, and we're creating and building and designing looking forward.
Could you
So our
describe
What's that?
Would you mind describing what these things
Sure.
are?
So Drive is Google's
yeah,
productivity
yeah.
suite. Pear Deck is a formative assessment tool. And so what that is, allows the teacher to ask a question, the students to do a really quick response from their device, and the teacher to immediately know what the level of comprehension in the room is. And there's like 10 or 12 different question types. Students can draw something, they can place a dot, they can answer multiple choice, and then the teacher not only gets that right away, they can use it as a learning tool where they can turn the answers into a slide with a push of a button and say to the students, okay, so 90% of us get it, but don't forget, or whatever it is. So that's really powerful. Flipgrid is this really interactive tool where students can actually do a quick recording of their thoughts, their ideas, share something with the teacher in a space where the teacher sets up a classroom, if you will, and then asks a question. Tell me about what you learned in class today, and the students respond with a quick video using the webcam on their device. Canvas is our LMS. WeVideo is a video production tool, so students actually making, creating, and producing their own videos. Soundtrap is an audio production tool, multi-tracking, add instruments, record your own instrument if you wanted to play into the computer via a line or via a microphone, as well as using different beats and rhythms from a clips library that exists there within Soundtrap. Seesaw is an e-portfolio tool that's being used extensively in the iSTEM program and by students across the division. And then Read and Write for Google is a literacy support tool that helps with students that are looking up words, finding better ways to say things. It has text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and these are all tools right now that are part of the suite that we're offering to students on the endpoint.
I'm just wondering, are you investigating anything in terms of read and write of maybe better articulation quality? I know my son uses this, and it's really difficult.
Oh, that's the first I've heard that. So I would like to talk to more and hear more about what it is or what it does well or what it doesn't do well. I would like to hear that.
Yeah, I think the reading portion is really difficult.
When it reads to...
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so his goal in life now is to create a reading an app that will accurately read articles
That's
to
awesome.
his students.
Good for him.
That's how passionate he is.
Mhm.
Yes.
Exactly.
I will develop something better.
I appreciate that. So the process that we're starting right now, and I'm bringing this forward to say to you that we are in our third year of a 3-year agreement on our devices for students, and it is time to refresh. What we'll be doing is releasing an RFP, looking for proposals back, reviewing the proposals, and selecting our next device to refresh that fleet of student devices, and we'll bring that back to you once we have proposals and all of the final numbers and everything else for approval by the board. Right now, just our estimates are, one of the things that's great is technology. Some technology gets more expensive, some technology gets cheaper. It turns out that student devices largely have gotten slightly cheaper. So what I'm projecting right now, and I used 3 device options that were comparable to the current devices. Obviously, the models have changed. The current model our students have is no longer available. It is an end-of-life model by Lenovo. And so, but the comparable models, the ones they've rolled out now, and giving you price points in the same level of calculation. The good news is that the budgetary number that I give you is what's already in the budget. There's no additional monies needed. We're using what's there and dog-eared in our budget already to continue and refresh this initiative. So in summary, and we've had great experiences. Lots of feedback from a survey that we did that basically says, please don't get rid of the Chromebooks. We love the Chromebooks. Mm-hmm. People want to stay on that platform. Mm-hmm. But after 3 years of a device that's carried around every single day by our students, they really are reaching the end of their life. If you think about anything you carry around with you every day and use every day for 3 years, it gets to a point. The Yoga 11Es that we have, you can't buy them anymore from Lenovo. They have officially deprecated the device, and parts are getting more expensive as a result, as you can imagine. So it is time. New technologies in the next device will be critical. There's some really cool features that have come out, including styluses that allow students to do one of the things our math teachers are really excited about is like writing equations, solving equations right on the screen. And a finger works, but when you have a stylus, they feel like it's a little more precise and they can do more creative things. There's a lot of... What's that?
Are we going to be responsible for not
I understand.
losing
I
those?
do understand. That is an option. And like I said, we haven't put the RFP out yet or done a review, so I completely understand what you're saying.
Maybe just keep it in the classroom.
Right on. There's another cool one that you don't think about. So the convertible laptop, when you flip it over, you have a camera, but the camera, if it points out, you can't see what the camera is shooting. That's like a problem, right? So when you think about it,
Right.
or you hold your laptop in some weird way to shoot. I've seen all kinds of crazy solutions. So one of the new technologies that we're seeing more of is something called a world-facing camera. Usually on the keyboard side or right above the keyboard, when I flip over the device and put it into that converted mode, I'm looking at the screen, and the world-facing camera is the one that I use to shoot. So now I can see, just like with a video camera, what I'm shooting. So when it comes to video shooting and kids who are working on projects that they're going to use video as a demonstration of what they've learned, and using that WeVideo tool, they can do some really pretty amazing things. So that's another technology that I think is really exciting. So our goal is to release the RFP, solicit proposals for refreshing the student computing devices grades 3 through 12. My projections right now are that the total cost of the initiative is not going to exceed the current budget. Our current budget consists of $284,000 from VPSA state funds that are dog-eared for student devices and testing that in support of state testing. That's what VPSA funds are specifically dog-eared for. And then our local match of $145,000 of local funds. And that, like I said, my projection right now, I don't have any proposals in hand, but my projection right now is that we'll be within the existing budget. And then as soon as we get proposals, we'll bring it back to you based upon I make a recommendation as to what we'd like to do to refresh the fleet.
Jeff, is two items I just wonder if you could address. One is the proposal by a counselor for internet service. And second is if you could just speak a little bit to the security of the information and things. I'm hearing what's going on in Atlanta and some other cities, and we just want to, not specific, of course, but just some assurances that what we have in place.
Yeah. So I will say one of the things that I cannot emphasize enough that we made a really smart move in going with Google. The student interactions with the Google Drive are completely encrypted. So there's no sidejacking data, for example. Whatever they're putting into Google Drive goes through an encrypted channel, an encrypted pipe, and the only way to decrypt it would be to be at the server to actually and have the key. So that transfer is where often the vulnerability happens. The second thing is that Google Mail is notoriously the best mail service there is for preventing data theft and malware and all the other sort of intrusion mechanisms. And so Google does a really amazing job. It's right now I think they're up to 99.999% of spam and malicious email gets blocked before it ever even hits your inbox. And that's a huge change for us because that's one of the ways that those malicious pieces of code get in and wreak havoc, if you will. On top of that, I think that our agreements with partners that have taken the privacy pledge, that have committed to protecting student data, our agreement with Google is that the data is ours. And if we ever decide that we're no longer working with Google, we ask them to delete it, and we get a certified statement of deletion, and it's gone. And so I agree with you that protecting student data is incredibly important, and some of the choices we've made and will continue to make are the way that we do the best job protecting that possible. So other things that we do that are just best practices are things like using password-protected and partitioned networks. So students who are on student network don't see the traffic on staff and staff networks. Guest network is partitioned completely from the student network. We ensure that every student has to get into their device, they have to put their password in. So a student can't just grab another student's device and open it up and get it. The minute that they close the lid, for example, it logs them out and they got to put a password to get back into it. So best practices. We hear about, when we hear about something, I think at the end of the day, to be really honest with you, the human element is always the most valuable one that we have. So when somebody says to us, hey, we noticed kids doing X, and we go, all right, let's find a problem for that. Or let's find a solution for that problem. That's always going to be our best mechanism, but making smart decisions around the technology. The data on a Chromebook is completely encrypted. You can't take a Chromebook, pull the hard drive out, and get data off of it without knowing the password to get in and unlock it, for example. So some good decisions that have been made and following best practice.
And internet?
So internet at home. Mm-hmm. So this is actually one of the things that I want to look at. Mm-hmm. There are several new players in this space that I'm pretty excited about. One of the survey questions we asked was for students who, do you have internet at home? And the second question was, do you have wireless at home? From our results, we had about 300 respondents. We had about 4% who said they don't. So to me, I have a number in my head that says that we need to put that many hotspots at our libraries and allow the kids who don't have it, check them out and take them home. And I want to find a way, and again, I don't want to overpromise here because I don't have hard numbers in my hand yet, but once we get those numbers, if within those numbers we can also offer to put the hotspots at the library for the students to check out, and that won't be a barrier to doing homework or research or whatever else, I'm committed to making that happen.
That's great.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask a question about, because we have a lot of computers here in the Sigma Lab and even in the engineering space at Buford. So there's a lot of work that you can't do on the Chromebook in the engineering space. So I just wonder if our next version will have a little bit more flexibility with respect to the engineering and science work that we're doing.
Yeah, so I think that there are two things happening right now. So one is I would caution against trying to get a device that does everything for everyone. I think that what you end up getting is a device that doesn't do anything well for anyone, unfortunately. So you have to pick and choose. It's just like the photography lab has Apple devices. Because if you're going to be a professional photographer, the chances are you're going to be working on an Apple device. At least that's what it's been historically. So I think that we're smart to do it that way. That being said, there also are some pretty amazing leaps and progress being made around cloud-based services, cloud-based programs that allow for design. The entire Adobe suite, for example, now is available in a Play Store version on the Chromebook. So if kids wanted to use Illustrator, the Play version, or Photoshop or whatever, they can do that right on the Chromebook. And so we are seeing that. We're seeing Google SketchUp. We're seeing those kind of CAD-based programs. SolidWorks is not going to work on the Chromebooks. SolidWorks doesn't work on Macs or Apples. It only works on PC. It's very specific. It does what it does. It's an industry standard, and that's very real.
I mean, we do have access to plenty of computers.
Absolutely. And so when we look at ways to extend that, we have played with some cloud-based, basically a virtual machine for students to log into no matter what endpoint they're on. They get pretty expensive pretty quickly is my concern right now. So we're investigating ways to do that, but I don't have a good solution right now to say to the engineering students, here, now you can use SolidWorks at home. But I suspect we will. It's just not there yet. But there are other CAD programs, like I said, that are available right now in the Chrome world and in the Android and Google Play world as well.
And I guess I had another question about Canvas and whatever it is, the other one that we use. What is it? PowerSchool. Okay, so is that something that we are discussing in this PowerPoint as well?
It's not, but
because I don't want to get us out. Like, I guess what I'm concerned is we get a new device, we get a new system, right? And it kind of takes a while to get up to speed as parents, and so I just worry that with a new device we're going to get a new system, and I'd just like to have some transparency about that.
Sure. So I want to be clear that the devices we're looking at are Chrome OS devices. The upgrade would be to the hardware, the upgrade would be to the features, but the students, with the tool set, the apps, we are not making any major changes in that space. So I agree with you. System changes are costly for a lot of reasons, monetarily, but also from an experience perspective, and keeping that connection and that commitment. I was actually talking to Dr. Atkins. I said, I think we're right on the edge of something really pretty amazing when I'm looking at the upticks in people that are using creative tools, making things. We got a letter from an app called Screencastify that we were one of the top 10% schools using Screencastify. So kids are making screencasts on their devices, as an example. And so they were like, we'd like to know what you're doing. And we're kind of like,
I would like to know what that is, but whatever.
Yeah. And so we're getting to this point where I feel like we're just on this creative cliff, and in a good way, I guess more like a creative mountain,
right.
that I'm really excited about. So one of the comments, and I actually included it, was we always change systems. We always change, and that really, I really appreciated the honesty from that. That came from a teacher, and I was like, that's not the intent here. The intent here is not to change or pull the wool out from anybody, but to instead take advantage of some of the modifications that come with the newer Chromebooks, and to continue. We're not at ceiling. We're nowhere near ceiling, but instead to go to the next places where we can go. Yeah, I really do appreciate that.
I had a question, and this may be a totally separate thing. That's part of my question. Virtual reality, and that's not part of what the packages that you're
Correct.
looking at now, but we do use that, right,
Correct.
in some of the schools.
We do. So it's one of those things where one of the reasons that I have for trying to keep the price point low and not allowing it to balloon is because we have the opportunity to do exploratory pilots of other things with the budget that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to purchase a few VR machines, and then we had students who made amazing things, one who even won an award for what they had designed using our VR machines. So there are conversations happening right now about what VR offering at the high school looks like next year. No decisions have been made, but I will say that that's a great space, VR and AR, which are, AR basically puts something in the real world that's not actually there, and VR takes you and puts you into a world that's not really there. So that's sort of the way to think about it. Pokemon Go was AR, and immersive, put the goggles on and you're on a foreign planet, that's VR. And so we are actively looking at the educational applications there, and I think I'll have news for you on that in the near future.
Cool, yeah. I want to thank you for your leadership on this. I mean, really, seems like we're in a really good place.
And I don't, I try to remain humble because I have to say that our teachers, our students. I had a student, this is where I begin to say, like, we're on the verge. I've had more students reach out to me in the last 3 months about, hey, can we? And I'm like, yeah, we can. Why? Absolutely. And just this week, a student wanted to tell me about this extension she's using that's making her a better writer. And she's like, we need to get this for all students. And she was just, so she emailed me to say, can we talk about this? I want to know, can we get it for the whole division? And that kind of empowerment, I get very excited about. That's what I want to see. So the ideas aren't mine, but if I can execute and make them happen and it's for everyone's good, then that's what I'm here to do.
Lisa, did you have a comment?
Maybe a couple comments, but I think they've kind of been touched. I don't know if you all had the opportunity. We just got a policy page update emailed to us, and it was kind of exactly touched on some of these same issues, and specifically kind of looking at connectivity in homes in different divisions around the country. And I just have to say, Charlottesville, we need to just be really grateful and feel lucky for what the connectivity that we do have. One of my questions was, do we have data? And I think you touched on it a little bit as far as kids within our division who might not have access at home. And I had seen somewhere that you had proposed possibly the hotspots that we could check out. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then also was curious back to your presentation, which was very impressive. So thank you for all of that. Would love to talk to you at another time if we need to, but just to get some a sense of how many kids really do maximize all of the different tools that are available to them, because I know I'm very grateful for my daughter who really has used and relied a lot on Google Read and Write. That's helped her a lot. And I think there's more potential to that. I'd be curious to talk with you and Amy a little bit on the reading portion or the read out loud part, but just the other tools, because there's some wonderful things, and I'm going to have to start pushing her a little bit more to check into those.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always ask for when we're looking at tools is whether or not we're getting data back out of them. So I went into the read and write analytics the other day. 120,000 uses a day of Google Read and Write. Now, that's not individual users, obviously. That's kids who use 3 or 4 or 10 tools a day and things like that. So we know that's being used. Now, the breakdown, what I want to see is more of, there's some really amazing tools in Read and Write for Google with like highlighting and collect your highlights into a notes page. Those are lower than I like to see them. The read aloud and the speech to text is the probably 80% of the usage. But that number has gone up, and so that's one of those. I think we first piloted Read and Write for Google for 4 years ago, and we've just seen steady usage increase. And it's not just a tool for intervention. We're seeing students who just want to be better writers and figure out how to do so, use it. We are seeing, in fact, usually if there's something wrong with Read and Write, the first teacher to call me is not a SPED teacher. It's usually an L teacher. ESL teacher. Because the students who are learning English rely so heavily on the tool set in Read and Write for Google as they're, in this language acquisition phase. So yeah, we know it's used across populations, and I think that's an amazing tool. I do, but needs to improve a little bit, I hear. So I want to hear more about that.
I just had two things too, if you're, so we had talked about before the meeting started, we hear a lot of parents worried about that their kids are able to access sites that don't seem very educational, and possibly accessing those sites during class time. So if you could talk about this new technology.
Sure. So I did throw some extra slides in, and I moved them around for reference, but I think this is the best graph I've ever seen. Because it tells the story. So what I did was I took all the staff that had responded and all the students that responded, and I scaled it to 100%. And this is what I got. So filtering should be more strict. Staff strongly agrees, and students do not agree. And filtering, who strongly disagrees with that statement, all the students strongly, no, it's not all of them, but it's pretty funny. You see the story's there. And so filtering is a funny one. So I think we walk a line, and it's a hard line in technology. I always take a position when people call me like, well, they're getting to sites that aren't educational. And I say, well, that is a really tough judgment call. What is educational to one person may not be to another. What we target to block are sites that are unsafe for various reasons. Exposure to content, illegal content, age-inappropriate content. And there's sliding rules on all of that, without a doubt. The best defense we have for students who are in class and not actually what they should be asking is that person in the room to help them understand, that's not what we're doing right now, and redirecting and getting them to understand that technology is a tool. We want to use it for the right reasons. And as a parent. We've had that conversation in my house, 20 times today, this week.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a constant. We're trying to read. The distraction and the draw is really very serious. The challenge, if we were charged as a technology department with blocking everything that wasn't educational, that, I think, would open up a conversation and dialogue that would be uncomfortable for a lot of people. There would be a lot of unhappy, and if we talk to our students, they already feel like we block way too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if I said to them, well, no, the parents and teachers say we don't block enough because we're letting you access stuff that's not educational, it gets really challenging. So I always say the same thing, which is there's no perfect technology to take the place of a human being, oversight, guidance, parenting, teaching, and learning and education. That's always right now. that's a person job, and the technology is there to try to prevent the distractions, prevent exposure, keep students safe. And one of the things that we are looking at is how can our current filter be better? There are some new technologies that do leverage AI and other things to look at how are we keeping up with, how are we being flexible. And so we've already started pilots with 3 different companies for new filters, which is like changing filter is always it's like heart surgery. It's for the IT department. We go, oh God, are we going to do this? But there's some great tools out there that would allow us to grant access to student activity reports to the principal at school so that they can just get right to it. And so if a teacher calls a principal and says, I can't get Susie on task, she's too busy looking at monster trucks, which may not be educational, but also may not be inappropriate. But Susie loves monster trucks. So the teacher calls principal. The principal quickly logs in and goes, okay, I can see her history. There's a lot of monster truck activity. Send her down, and I'm going to have a talk with her. And that way, IT is not in the middle. And so I like the idea of empowering our schools and our school administration and even our teachers to be that intervention agent in student behaviors that are off-task, distracting, and inappropriate. And then the other one would be things like we have Facebook blocked, right? Does Facebook need to be blocked 24/7? Or should we be blocking Facebook during the school day and allowing students who take the device at home at night to access it? And I said, that's why I asked the question. I didn't say we should. I said, should we? I saw some faces like, ooh. But that's real. And I think if we ask the students, should we allow social networking after 8 o'clock, I think the answer would be, yeah. Why are we so locked down?
No, free.
Actually, things that are at home, like when you're at home not doing work, it's very confusing to my students.
I understand that. Yeah. So
But
we have
what is
right now-
blocked.
Right,
And
we
they're
have a
like,
policy.
why can't I reach this?
Whatever the filtering policy is on that device, and according to ours, it sticks with that device wherever it goes. And that's important, but at the same time, should we look at technology that would support scheduling? So like I said, we're evaluating 3, and I fully suspect that we'll probably replace our filter next year with something else, and hopefully open up some opportunities for better access to, for the purposes of guiding and helping and reinforcing behaviors.
I had one more thing, which I don't know if is really an IT question, but, with all of this fake news, et cetera, are we educating our children to be discerning enough when they are researching things online? I think that's something, part of critical.
Adults have to be discerning.
This is the second year in a row that my 8th grader, when he was in has had to do a project identifying what are the flags on this website that indicate that this is a fake website.
Really?
So
And
Thank you, Ms.
I feel
McKeever.
people come to me
according
with that
to-
concern. I'm like, but we've had to do that for many years. And anyway, but it seems like not an IT problem as much as an education.
I would say it's not an
Thank
IT
you.
problem, but that's not to dodge the question. What I would say is that we have in place media literacy units that all the way down to elementary school that are integrated into language arts and also into the media specialists and the curriculum that they follow. So the goal is to teach students, little things too, like where can you take an image from and use that image and that's not copyrighted. So there's also legal issues as well. How do you cite a source when you do, take a quote directly off of? And so those things, yes, they're being covered. But can we do more? I think, I don't think we can do enough in this point, because I think we've seen with what's going on at Facebook right now, for example, what happens if we don't maintain the checks and balances. So I think that doing more, sure, absolutely. And it's a conversation I will tell you that the media specialists are having regularly about that curriculum. But there is a curriculum in place. I'm glad you actually have projects that you've seen come home, and that because that's what we'd expect. But I always think we can be doing more. Sure.
Frey, did you have any
No,
comments?
I was just laughing at the graph.
I think that was fun.
Yeah.
I think our system for blocking certain websites, if it is something that we begin to change the technology for which we use to block websites, I would encourage student input on that, because there are certain things, especially at the high school level, that may be both inappropriate and educational.
Absolutely.
So I know, for example, and this is just one example, out of curiosity, the word sex is blocked, but there are many resources online that are helpful for students to learn about safe sex.
Yeah.
And so certain things like that, I would just encourage asking students, what is it that you need this computer for? What is it that you use the internet for? And how can we actually help you?
Yeah.
Rather than necessarily protect you. So I commend you for all of your work.
No, I don't disagree with you, Frey, at all. And what I'd say, the same student who reached out to me brought that same issue up. So we're going to actually look at forming a student technology advisory committee here at the high school, because that's it. So I'll delve into the technology really quickly, but keyword block is one of the hardest ones. If the word sex triggers a block, it doesn't matter what you put else with it, and you're searching for something that is valid for your health class, for example, and you're getting blocked all over the place. It's one of the hardest. Like, how do you fix that without unblocking the word sex, which then would unblock and lead to stuff that was not appropriate for school? And so that's one of the most challenging things that we face in the filtering world, which is honestly why I think we do tend to keep things as moderate as possible without like slamming the door, believe it or not. And to appreciate that, I would I go to other school systems and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have Google Drive blocked? Like I really have had that experience at a major school system here in Virginia, and and things like there's just a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of levers, but keyword blocks are really challenging to manage. Which keywords we do and don't block, and why we do and don't block them, and what the risk of not blocking them is. So right now what we do is we run off of a national registry, a recommended list that gets updated nightly, and that's how we're running it. So, but we do have some levers to pull there if we decided to.
Well, it's just like everything else. It's freedom versus control, right?
Yep. Rosa?
And Fred, we have come a long way. I can recall when we first started, we blocked YouTube.
True.
We did. So we have truly grown.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Jeff, thank you so much. It's incredible work.
We're lucky to have you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Dr. King?
Actually, I have one more question. Sorry. What are we doing with the old devices? Was that on the proposal? Sorry.
Yeah, so I can't answer that question yet.
Okay.
And the reason I can't answer that question is because we have some options. The fleet is well used. And so looking at them, if we decided that we could get some of them and backfill, for example, grades that had older equipment at the lower level, and we would be giving them a good machine that was in working order that we felt good about, we would absolutely do that. If not, then what we would be required to do if there were any street value left in them is we would be required to take them to public auction and recoup any money, which would offset the cost of the next initiative. So we have to look at, go through, clean up, find out where we are before we can really make that determination.
Okay. And when does all of that have to be determined?
Well, it would happen over the summer as we were doing the refresh. Yeah. I mean, my goal would be obviously to take advantage of what we have. If we have good usable equipment, then and we have a place to use it in the division. Absolutely, we're going to use it. I promise you that. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Dr. King?
You have to auction it out.
You do. Yeah.
Yes, I am here now to share the student fee schedule for the 2018-19 school year. And I know this was shared with you prior to this meeting, so I want to open up for an opportunity to answer questions or allow you all to have discussion about the fees as presented.
Are there any significant changes, I think, is a reasonable?
K-Tech is a significant change. All the materials for the various program areas are at no cost to the students. We put it there because previously it was broken out with cost.
Program, okay.
The one thing that jumps out to me that is optional but has no plan for assistance is the PE uniform.
Yes.
Is there room in the budget for students to apply for assistance?
I'm going to look at Mr. Henderson about the PE budget. It would be
No.
It can be extremely humiliating to be exercising in clothing that does not fit you, or to go back to class in clothing that has now become sweaty. I'm just wondering if there's any way that we can create a fee plan for students.
I think one question we need to ask and bring feedback to is define the percentage of kids who are wearing and who are not wearing, and then go from there.
Okay.
And I think once we decide, and I think that would be a possible solution to provide assistance for those buying uniforms. But I think that the tide is beginning to change where most kids are not wearing uniforms. So we need to look at the percentage, and I don't have that number. And I can get that number for you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I think one of the other questions we need to ask is why is the student not wearing a uniform? It may not be because of a cost factor. It may be more preference for the student. So I think those two, the percentage not wearing and then some of the reasons that they may not be wearing it.
And is it okay, Dr. Atkins, I'm going to phrase that as appropriate or approved PE clothing for comfort instead of like uniform?
Let's talk about that,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Other discussion?
I was just curious, as far as band and instrument rentals, if we've ever received any feedback from families who might be above that cutoff for the free and reduced or reduced and free lunch, but still their child is not able to participate in band because it's been cost prohibitive. Have we ever heard that?
Not in that way, just that we do, speaking with Aaron, I always call him Aaron, I-Course, thank you. They really do anything that they can to make sure any student that wants to participate is able to. They really do try to remove barriers regardless.
Yeah. There's been many efforts where, a lot of the teachers and the principals, they know the students that they need. They don't have to apply, sometimes. And if I bring it to their attention, it's done, and it's very done discreetly and stuff. But yeah.
I had one question, I guess, which is on the next page after
Yes.
this, about the Chromebook.
The Chromebook fee schedule.
And I'm wondering, with the level 4, how often do we encounter those situations where students are bearing the cost of those repairs? How much does that happen?
I will follow up with you. I was taking a look around to get feedback of that, but we can add that to see in the past what's the cost of this past year, how many the price that was collected on for the level 4 is what you asked about.
Right. Yeah.
Dr. King, Mr. Faust may be able to answer that.
Oh, is he there? I don't see him.
He's hiding.
And you did not even try to come out. Oh, that was good. Thank you, Dr. Atkins.
They're matching.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cute.
Teal day.
That's so cute. Boy.
Oh, he stepped away.
Talk about uniforms, huh?
Yes, so one of the things that with this Chromebook fee schedule is it's at the discretion of the school administration. IT, we're not in the business of telling kids what they've done wrong or whatever else. So my help desk staff, my school tech support specialists make a referral. They get a Chromebook that, and you can see them where it looks like a student has hit it with a hammer, for example, like 3 or 4 times, like bad day. And so what the help desk staff will do is just write down, I'm going to use Susie again. Susie's having a rough day. Sorry, Susie. Between monster trucks and now smashing your Chromebook with a hammer.
She is having a rough
Yeah,
day.
so they actually have a referral form that they they take the Chromebook, they put the referral form with it, they send it to the office, and the office handles the, what needs to be done. At the end of the day, the idea here is we want students to learn to take care of their equipment. We're not in the game of trying to extract money from students or their families for this.
But do we do that? Have there been students who've had to?
There have been, but I will tell you, I would be comfortable saying that it's few, and I would be comfortable saying that it's not because they had a bad day or it happened one time. That's what the referral process is for, so that there's a running record. This is so and so's 4th referral, 5th referral, and pretty much everybody's given a pass on the first. Like, stuff happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions on the fees?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much. The next item we have on the agenda is another opportunity for comments from the public.
Mr. Callahan, you going to come speak?
It's another opportunity for board members to speak.
So I, too, was at the walkout and March for Our Lives, and I was humbled by the support that we received from people in positions of power. So I'm looking at all of you who attended. That was really great. And from our school administration, really allowing us to express ourselves in this way. And I'm looking forward to further collaboration between students and lawmakers in the future and really addressing the issue of gun violence. On that note, I'd actually like to amend my statement that I made last month on school safety. there is a line at which we make our schools so safe that they become military zones. And I'd like to bring up that for many students in our community, school is much safer than being at home or walking around in their neighborhood or being at parks. And the sight of a gun in someone, in the hand of someone that you trust, so someone like a student resource officer, can be traumatizing. So if we can, together, working as students, teachers, and staff, find a balance between making our schools safe and yet also making them a place where people can escape the trauma that they face outside of school, I'd be really grateful, and I'd really look forward to that. And then finally, just a note on technology usage. I really appreciate the strides that we're making in our classrooms to really update the technology we use and really move into the digital age. I would say, as a student, I have experienced technology misuse or abuse by certain teachers in the sense that it is used as a replacement for face-to-face learning and hands-on learning. So I would be careful, and I would suggest maybe more teacher training or even student awareness training in, the benefits of taking notes by hand and making flashcards on your own and doing group projects without a computer present, and really using the technology that we have to assess the effectiveness of the technology we use in our classrooms. So yeah, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for everyone on this board, and that's all I have to say.
We're grateful for you as well. Yep.
Great.
Other board members have additional comments?
I just had a question or maybe request. I wasn't sure if on our upcoming agendas for meetings we have planned an update on our school expansion efforts. And if we do, that's great. And if we don't, I wonder if we could put that on an agenda soon, because I think community members do follow what we're doing, and they, which is great. They're very involved and eager to find out what's going on. So I think that would be helpful.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think that would be a good topic to have. And just for a brief summary, where we are now is we're compiling all the notes that we've gathered from the meetings that have taken place in our community. We've also looked at our enrollment for the fall, so we can give you an update on what we've heard from the community, comments that have been made, where we are. We are currently planning to attend one of the builders in the community has invited us to come in for a discussion about some new building that has been approved in the city and the impact potentially that it could have on school enrollment. And then we'll take what we gather in the fall. In August, our students will be returning to school, so that would help to give us verification or validate whether or not we're continuing the trend to increase and seeing our student enrollment at our schools increase. So we have, Mike Malika is in the process of updating site plans for mobile units, should we need any in the fall. And then in the fall, once we get closer to the opening of school, we will have numbers that indicate whether or not we will need to add additional mobile units. And we will have more information to add to the trend data that we have forecast. And then we can start, continue the discussion about how do we respond to our growth in enrollment. So it gives us one more data point.
I just had a couple things. So during the GRACE meeting, they asked if there was an alternate, and so I just quickly went on our, web page, and I don't see anyone as an alternate. So maybe we can do
I'm
this.
getting the emails, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not getting them, but I think I will now. And then I'm still getting the Blackmail Alliance emails, but I think somebody else is on that.
Well,
Somebody on
I
that?
didn't know what was going on with that, actually.
What was Adam, that?
Yeah, actually, that's right. Adam was that person. So
So we need to, hopefully after our
Yeah.
meeting in April, we'll be able to
And then just in the prep, we probably need an alternate as well. Maybe that could be Leah, because she was on that before. And then I actually was asked to be on the Legislative Priority Committee for VSBA, and we're going to meet in July. And they would like to have any ideas from school boards June 11th. And I thought if anybody's interested, maybe we can have just a small committee. I guess only 2 of us can get together. But if anybody's interested in meeting with me and looking at some of their ideas and some of our things that we bring up every year to push forward in that meeting in July. So we can do that on email. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
That at our retreat, too.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? We'll try to get some stuff together before that so that we're not developing it at the retreat, because there'll be a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of the retreat, if you don't, go ahead. I was hoping to, maybe we can identify a schedule of reports that we can, I was looking on our website today, trying to figure out what reports we should have in April, and looking back at previous years, that there was just reports that I feel like and now that we have a new strategic plan, it might be useful to kind of look back and see what reports we have done in the past and what might be kind of not relevant today, but that we could do using our new strategic plan. So I was hoping that in the retreat that we could identify either, a new schedule of reports, if that's possible, so that we can, so things don't kind of fall through the cracks.
That's a good idea.
Certainly. I had one more thing. But
Yeah, go ahead.
just wanted to also talk about, and maybe not, maybe at the retreat sometime, or I don't know, about apparently the MAP testing has gone away as a division, except for with respect to the children who are in Quest. And I would love to hear more about that decision. And I feel like it's one of the few tests that actually kind of show growth. And my understanding is, so anyway, I would just love to hear more about that decision and see how we're going to be measuring growth in the future for these, for kids who are not in Quest. Because I understand the Quest kids are still receiving the MAP testing, but that seems confusing to me too. So.
We can do that. We'll go back to one of our board meetings a couple years ago, and the board voted to, wanted us to take away mandatory testing, and MAP was one of those tests. So we'll go back and revisit that.
We've had MAPs for years, though, since then.
Yes, optional, not as a requirement. So what we'll do is go back and take a look at that and those notes and get an update on where we are with our sure, absolutely.
Let me we surely can examine MAP testing, and we...
I apologize, I didn't hear what you said.
We can surely examine MAP testing, and we actually are doing that now, and we're having discussions about MAP testing as it relates to mathematics as we adopt our new math text. As of right now, MAP testing is given to gifted students because it's part of their plan, and that was one of the few tests that they could select that was meaningful to our gifted students and to those that are measuring growth. We also use MAP testing in our English classes at CHS to measure growth from the time they enter 9th grade to 11th grade, and it's more predictable in determining whether they're going to be successful on the SOLs. The reason we've pushed away from MAP at the elementary grades because it wasn't giving us predictable information. MAP would say that this child is more likely to pass an SOL, but in most cases it wasn't the case, and so we examined that at 3rd and 4th grade and found it wasn't very reliable in terms of SOL. So we're re-examining MAP, and we haven't thrown it out with the bathwater, but we are definitely looking at to see if it's still a viable resource for us. I think our question right now is how do we balance testing and instruction? And we don't want to spend all day testing when if we provide good instruction, students will do well on tests. It's trying to balance that. And so, but we are examining the MAP again. So, but we'll definitely come back and report.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Any other comments, Dr. Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've had, all the board members have had a busy month and I think, or maybe 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks since we met. Very recently, we had our our Women Education Leaders in Virginia annual conference, which is traditionally held here in Charlottesville, and it was to help women who are in education to network and to be leaders in education, whether that's leadership in developing curricula, developing policy positions, or developing other individuals. And we were very fortunate to have 2 of our stars to present at WELV, Anna Isley from Clark and her instructional coach, Elizabeth Korup. Both of them presented, and they were a true hit with their presentation. They were talking about how to coach other teachers and how to provide the leadership that's necessary for our teachers to feel empowered where curricula is concerned and the delivery of instruction. So nice job to that group, to those individuals. We also had our community forum on March the 15th, and we're very grateful for Dr. Dewey Cornell, who was at the forum, and he provided us a very clear perspective on school safety, and he reminded us that school safety is more about developing students to be healthy individuals than it is about how we arm our facilities to make sure we can intruders will not come into our buildings. So we have focused on how do we make sure that our students are healthy as they grow in our school system. So thank you to Dr. Cornell, and thanks to all of our community members, families, and teachers who came out to that presentation. And following up on that March 15th school safety presentation, this past Monday, March 26th, our Trauma-Informed Community Network hosted a school safety trauma workshop, and Dr. Dewey Cornell and Pat Como, our principal from Greenbrier, and Stephanie Carter were on the panel and talked about trauma in schools, talked about some of the programs that are in Charlottesville City schools and the growth of trauma-informed environments in our school system. That was a very good network. And I'd like to just say thank you to our trauma-informed community network, the members there. Thank you to CASA and other partners that we have in the community that support the work that we're doing and encourage the work that we're doing. Ready Kids, and there's a whole host of other community organizations that we partner with, and we want to just say thank you to all of them. On March the 21st, we had a snow day, and I think it looks as if many of our community members had fun, including Dr. Irizarry, who came to check on the school, and while he was at the school, his 2 children, his 2 boys, decided they wanted to build a snowman, so he ran inside and got a CHS shirt to make sure that they knew that that was a CHS high school snowman, and they were very proud of that. And while Dr. Irizarry was checking on things at the school, Will Cook came to the school to check on things also. And many community members. Is that Dr. Shields? Dr. Shields came. Will Cook stopped by my office and said he saw Dr. Irizarry here also. So sometimes it doesn't pay to close schools because people are going to come anyway. Cannot keep them away. But it was a fun day for all. Also, I think someone mentioned the opioid crisis that's happening in our school division. Spring break first. Tomorrow, remind all of our families that tomorrow is a half day, March the 30th, Friday, March the 30th, is a half day for students. Our spring break will be April the 2nd through April the 6th. That will be Monday through Friday of next week. I will also let our community know that on April 5th and 6th, our central office will be closed. We are relocating, reorganizing at the Dairy Road location. We're moving the conference room from one location to another. And we have some asbestos abatement that will be taking place on the 5th and the 6th. So we will be closing that building in order to let that abatement take place, and we should open back up on Monday. So we can't have employees in the building on that day, those 2 days. On April the 13th, Rebecca Kendall, who works with our school division, she's from Region 10, and she provides a great deal of services and support in our school division. There will be a panel that will be held at City Space on the opiate crisis in our region. So there are experts that will be speaking. Dr. Denise Bonds from our health department will be there along with other community members. So drug addiction is an important topic in our region, and we want to discuss it and talk about how do we partner to make sure that we create healthy environments for our students, for our community members, and ready to respond to their needs. In our schools, we have teachers who are doing amazing work. So one example of that is at Burnley Moran, and I don't have a picture, but I will bring it in May when we have our board meeting in May. Kateri Thunder, who works with our preschoolers, and she is also a math expert at Burnley Moran. Kateri has been working with our teachers at Burnley Moran on visual learning, which is work that's by John Hattie. And John has written several books. And because of Kateri's expertise in visual learning, John Hattie and the publisher, the other authors of the book, asked Kateri if she would have a section in a spot in their upcoming book, the newest release of visual learning. So 2 days this week we had representatives from the publisher who sent cameras down and a team down to record 4 of our teachers in the classrooms at Burnley Moran and to use it as examples of exemplary teaching and using visual learning practices, and Kateri will be writing a section in that book. So I want to say congratulations to Kateri and all of the teachers, and we will get Kateri and those teachers before you to talk about their work later on, but just congratulations to them. And Ziana Bryant was very recently, if you didn't see it, she was on CNN. What an amazing young student. She has a voice and she has a perspective that is very important in today's society. So I would just want to say congratulations to her for a job well done. She represents so many aspects of our society today, and she's well-spoken and a great representative for our school division. So congratulations to her, and we look forward to the release of her segment on the new film that's coming up that Katie Couric has completed. I believe there will be a showing of that film next week, week after, around April 11th. There will be a showing of the film. So congratulations to Ziana Bryant. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just quickly to go over a couple of meetings that we have coming up next week. Where Leah had an obligation tonight. That's why she's not here. Several of us are heading to San Antonio next week for a National School Board Conference. Those are very helpful. Get a lot of information, meet a lot of school board members from around the country for that. And then on April the 11th, we have a meeting to discuss the replacement for Adam on the school board until November. And I think that's it for the upcoming meetings. There be no objections. We stand adjourned.